April. Linda.
Girl, I wanna give you this love. Girl, I wanna give you good vibes. And I know you're my type, so look who they do, I'm cry. Only love I see when I look at you. I see you across the room. Baby, why?
I'm glad you're back. I'm so happy to see you.
Baby, no, they do shakara. Make you look good, they want corner. Come around. If you wanna be my company, come around, turn around. Only you can wait for me. Baby, get control. One little, yeah. All of this control. One little, yeah. Baby, get control. One little, yeah. All of this control. One little, yeah. Yeah, me say you are pretty damn so. If you kiss a man, baby, say you no go tell.
Okay. And I'm going to try to catch yours too, Linda.
She killing me, she killing me,
I'm coming in to see yours too. Hi, Wowly.
Girl, I go shoot my shot, take me for your net, wanna finish strong. Come around. If you wanna be my company, come around, turn around. Only you can wait for me. Come around. If you wanna be my company, come around.
This is Oshiri.
Only you can wait for me.
This is from his EP. It's called Company. I'm gonna post on my page, Wowly. Yes, Wiley.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, beautiful.
How are you?
I am blessed and highly favored. How are you?
I am the same. Always, you know this.
Yes, ma'am.
I just need to start off and say thank you for your time. I appreciate you beyond measure.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you for even inviting me.
Oh, of course. You are one of the most interesting people that I know, that I love. I love our interaction. I love being your friend. You're amazing. And I want everyone to know.
Thank you so much. It's
You're welcome.
My pleasure.
So this is an hour all about you. And so this is all about you.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I really want, briefly for you to tell my guests, my followers, some are in here and some will be watching later. Give a brief overview of who you are and how you got to be where you are.
I've done several things in my life, in my career. As far as the entertainment business goes, it's something I want to do ever since I knew I was a human being.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty much. My mom has always and still is my biggest fan. She tried her best to help me get into the industry. She didn't really quite know exactly what to do, but she was always there pushing me. So ever since I can remember, I was always writing, singing, and dancing, doing something like that. And I took it much more seriously by my teen years, and I wanted to get into music mostly. That's always been my passion. Singing, rapping, or any of that, songwriting, lyric writing for other people as well. I didn't quite get into anything professional there, but the acting thing kind of was like always buzzing around, available for me, and I wasn't taking advantage of it. And so fast forward maybe 15 years after I was trying that, all of a sudden I started getting opportunities to do theater, independent theater, nothing major. And then I wrote my own play called Sister years ago.
Nice.
And yeah, and I self-produced it, directed it, everything. Kind of didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I just had a vision and brought it together with some friends and some people that I cast in the play with me. And I did that. And one thing led to another. Next thing I know, I was in Atlanta. I'm mostly from the Midwest. I'm from the South as well. Chicago, by way of Mississippi, is the way my cousin described me. So I'm a country boy and I'm a Midwest hood boy at the same time. So that's why you probably get so many different things from me. I'm all over the place. And when I got old enough, I went to Atlanta like everybody does. And the next thing I know, I went to school for digital media just to get some more professional backing and training to do what I wanted to do. And next thing you know, I was working with people like Tommy Ford, Kim Fields, some other celebrities. And that's kind of in a nutshell, just kind of was all over the place. As entertainers, we're like gig economy people. It's unless you get something that's like a staple, like TV show, sitcom, or something like that, or maybe if you blow up as an entertainer, as a musician or something, you're kind of always looking for your next gig. A lot of people look at it as just the high life, and if you're in front of cameras and you're doing something that you love to do, it seems so quite easy, but it's not quite as easy as people think it is. In fact, it's anything but easy. Even for people who strike it rich and get big from the jump, even as child stars, it's kind of all over the place because the industry changes every year, every generation. The changing of the guard. 1 minute you think you know all the it people, how to get in and stay in, and next thing you know, that all changes. And so it's a lot of changes up and downs with it. I won't complain. I'm not where I want to be. I've done a lot of things, but at the same time, I got a long way to go. So that's my professional life. I don't have a personal life.
I know when I became your friend on Facebook, all of a sudden I started getting like all of these industry people, these comedians and actors, and I'm like, okay, well, come on, let's be friends. And I love reading their comments. You have this comedic timing that is beyond belief.
Yes, I've been told.
Where did that come from? Like, is that because you're an actor that you have this timing, comedy-wise, that?
I think mostly I'm just a natural smartass. I'm kind of just naturally quick-witted like that. Being a kid that came up, as my childhood was mostly back and forth between the two. So I had to be tough in both places. In the deep South, I was kind of teased for being a little singing little boy, but I was tough too. So I had to show people, hey man, you can't push me around because I sing and dance, man. So I kind of had to become, you can't physically fight everybody that, says something to you. So even as a little boy, I had to learn to be more, I guess that's the only thing I could think of, because my mom and my dad really aren't like that. They're both funny people, but a lot of people have told me that's the reason why I kind of fell into acting, because I had a friend that was like, yeah, I know you want to sing, maybe one day you will, but you need to be on somebody's comedy stage. And I was like, really? Me? And that's kind of how I went into acting. And everything I like to do in acting, I mostly like drama. I mean, not drama, but comedy. But
okay. Yeah, because I can look, all I need to do is read your feed on Facebook. That's all I need to do. And I'm laughing all damn day.
That's
so funny. It's so perfect. You know?
Yes.
So now we're in this weird social climate. Okay? What does this mean? Now, I see doors opening up for people in the entertainment, Grammys, Tonys, you know, all this more Black people are being recognized. And they don't have to compromise their culture to do it, it seems. And you tell me if I'm wrong, right? But where are we going industry-wise, do you think?
It's kind of, I think what's happening is weird. It's like new to most people who are the viewers of the partakers in what we do and what we offer. And as far as us, and it's new to some of the people like myself who are content makers, whether it's music, TV, film, whatever. But at the same time, as a person who really, really loves history, I love all types of history, but I try to study the entertainment industry, history as most, because that's what I want to do. I think it's actually kind of becoming a resurgence of what was old. I think the industry became, like I was saying before, the changing of the guard thing. There were so many gatekeepers to get in at one point because it became so industrialized. Whereas that was about maybe 60, 70 years ago in the 40s and 50s, when TV and radio started to go to another level. When they brought TV in and all that stuff, it started to become industrialized, because what it was about, as far as TV was concerned, it was about selling product. It wasn't the most important thing, and it still isn't, that for the people who own CBS, Fox, and all that stuff, and all the channels, their thing is to sell product to the customers who are watching the shows. And that's what it was about. And so at one point, before you had that, what we have now with like the internet, you can become like what you're doing, what I've done. I've had a podcast. I'm not doing it right now. There's so many different shows popping up on YouTube and all these different, Facebook with the Red Table Talk. People who can create their own content. Is going back to what I say was the hustle days. If you remember like the old ragtime stuff in the 20s and up to the 40s, we're in that period 100 years later, but we have it with technology. So now people are not having to do these mega deals with a record label or with a TV show. Back in the day, when you think about Judy Garland, she started out being America's sweetheart with Wizard of Oz and so many other different projects. By the time she was gone, her life had been industrialized by the industry that was changing around this time. So she got caught up in a system where she had to just basically do whatever the system told her to do, because that was how it was. But before then, like right now, it was kind of like you put your own gimmick together. You maybe get a little team, managers and whatnot, some people to help you wangle everything together and polish off whatever it is you do, and then you go out and sell it yourself. So I see it changing in a way for our people. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Lettucey, the R&B singer Lettucey.
No.
Lettucey, oh my God, she is like the new Aretha, Shaka, Anita, all in one.
Okay. I'm checking her out.
You got to check her out. She got her latest album out. I follow her and I follow Miss Anita Baker on Twitter.
Okay.
And I didn't know that, and I've been listening to Legacy for years. And once you put her name in YouTube, it's gonna pop up like 4 or 5 albums. She's been on the low, but at the same time, amongst our people, like you were asking, she's been making a name for herself. And Anita Baker, about 2 weeks ago, congratulated her on actually starting her own label.
Wow.
So yes, I guess it's primarily just for her. I hadn't really researched that part yet. But at the same time, what I love about her career, she's in that age bracket where probably just a decade ago, before her career started, which was about a decade ago, but if you go back 20 years, I guess, somebody that looked like how she looked in her age, and I don't mean in a negative way, but she's not the Beyonce type. She's not
Right.
that, you know what I mean? She's not, at the same time, she ain't showing a lot of cleavage or butt. She has that mature look. What we were used to, you remember in the 80s and 90s when everybody was fully clothed and could really
Right.
sing.
Right.
She's bringing that back. And her
Mhm.
voice, this woman's voice is amazing. And amongst our people, like she's done a dedication to Whitney Houston. She came out and sang, who was my first crush in my life. I love
Oh.
almost more than my mama. Oh my God. But she came out on either the Soul Train or the BET Award thing they had for Whitney several years ago, and she sang, if I'm not mistaken, How Will I Know?
Mm.
And even with her very soulful rendition, she did it so great. And every time there's like a salute to somebody, they're always sure to call her because she's has that old soul. And I just
Uh-huh.
love this organic thing she has about herself of bringing real music, real R&B, real soul, doing it in a classy way, a mature way, but it's still so it's current at the same time. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? And so
I
what
think she
mhm.
said, did you say legacy? I think you said legacy.
Ledisi, Ledisi. I'm sorry. So yes, and like I blame when you look up like I Blame You, that's one of her big hits.
Hmm.
Um let me think. Dang, yep, that's it. That's how you spell it. Ledisi. Um it's a lot of her songs. I can't think of all the titles. I'm just usually just listening. But like her
Hmm.
latest album, it reminds me of the time like when my mom and her cousins were sitting around when we were kids listening to
Right.
old music. And like they would say, I'm in grown folk business. And so,
They, they used to make me sing Natalie Cole when I was a little girl. I used to have to get in the
oh,
middle of
I
the living
love
room.
Natalie. Oh, I love A Natalie, man. I I used to be in the living room performing. I was little Michael Jackson for everybody.
So, okay, so you was tortured like me.
I wasn't, but here's the thing. I wasn't a torture. I was a ham.
Right. See, you liked it. I
I
didn't.
I loved every minute. Like that's the reason why most of my family to believe I was going to do something or really supported me, because every day, like I was a regular kid, but at the same time I was like that artistic nerd, and
Uh-huh.
so I would come home. And after school, I'll go do homework. I'll play whatever chores I had to do. But in between that time and before dinner, I would turn the radio on, get in front of our mirror. We had mirrors in our living room. And I would get in front of the mirrors and turn the music on. And I would just perform whatever songs were the hottest songs. I did that like religiously, like 3, 4, 5 times a week. And it
Hmm.
was so regular for my family just to like, yeah, that's his thing. He over there practicing to be a superstar. So for me,
Hmm.
it was nothing. I
Right.
was always trying to do something more, and it was more than just me trying to be somebody. I just love to perform. I love doing it. I had no
Hmm.
problem. It was you turn some music on as a little kid, it was like playtime for me. You know.
Well, I'm a person that loves theater. I love
Mm.
getting myself ready, going out, sitting in front of the theater, listening to it up close and personal. The last show I just saw was Sweeney Todd at
Oh.
the theater. Oh, it was amazing. You have this background in theater, and what is the difference I want you to explain the difference in doing theater work and doing camera work.
With theater work, it's pretty much you gotta have the chops for something like that, and you gotta. What I mean, you gotta know your stuff. Just the actual talent of being able to know your stuff and know your actual stuff, the scripting and all that stuff, and direction. So it's what you see is what you get. It's right there live, like as you know. Even though they do live broadcasting, sometimes that's something that's rarely done unless it's like Saturday Night Live or maybe
Right.
some major production that's being done. I think years ago that Brandy thing with Whitney that they did was a live production. Don't quote me on that. The thing with TV, and I won't say, I was going to say initially it's easier, but then it's not. It's a lot more work involved, but it's a lot for us as entertainers. It's much more of a relaxed environment because you get to do as many takes as you have time to do. With theater, you mess up, you mess up.
Yeah.
You either there, you not. I think most actors who like theater, they love that instant reaction because when you're on TV, other than the other cast members and or production, you don't have a live audience, especially anymore.
Right.
They used to record before live productions. They don't do that anymore. Live audiences, I mean, unless it's a talk show. So with theater, you get that instant reaction from you guys, whether you like it or you don't like it. You can kind of tell, even though you got to be in your, you got to be on your stuff at the same time. Yeah, like Hollywood said, you have to be built for a certain way. And I initially didn't want to because when I started to research acting, I was like, I found out, I was like, theater is kind of intimidating. I'd rather go to TV, even though, because theater is something you can do locally. Theater is something you can do up to internationally, but it's something that if you want to have a name for it, like you would as a TV or movie star, you still got to be, built, like he said, a certain way. It's not something for everybody. What I did find, though, for us, I wish a lot more minorities would get into theater.
Yes.
I really do. Because I think the problem is I was just telling my nephew and telling my little brother, he's not blood, but we grew up, we actually tried to have a group back in the day. We were up late talking last night, and I was like, man, when I went to Atlanta and I found out how it's so many more opportunities from local to international with theater that if our people stop looking at the bag, I got to get to the bag right now. Right. You know what I mean? And actually with theater, it's much more prestigious. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like people will know your name because the TV is everywhere. But at the same time, the industry itself looks at you as a more polished, seasoned, professional person.
I love theater.
I love theater too. I always have, but I didn't see it in my future, so I didn't really study it as much until later, until I got into my 20s. And so I wish I had started with that because really it would have allowed me to do everything I do now. Hindsight is 20/20, but I should have. My parents didn't know really to put me in performance art school. A lot of kids need to be in performance art school as well. Like my nephew wants to act, and I asked his mom and my brother permission, and they said yes, I can. I'm going to start training him. I'm going to manage him and get him to a point where he's getting opportunities. I want him to do voiceovers and all that different stuff. It's so many other opportunities as opposed to just trying to get to quote unquote Hollywood. Even though Hollywood is almost any and everywhere now, Atlanta. But there's so many opportunities. People make money. Like when you think about comedians, they a lot of times when they're not doing shows, they're not on the road, they're doing voiceovers for major movies, commercials, And that's a lot of money people leave on the table.
Yes. Yes.
And yes, so it's a big difference. I'm sorry, getting off track what you asked me, but theater is something you have to be built for, and it's something that if you can get in there, you can master that. To me, you can do anything.
Absolutely. I adore theater, and I'm with you. And I think that Tyler Perry coming out with that theater aspect really drew people to him. And then he went to the movies. So I thought
Yep.
that that was such a smart way to do it. Now,
Hmm.
what made you, this is great to segue into, what made you decide that you were going to produce?
Him.
Oh,
To be honest, let me say it like this. I saw, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on the dates. I think I saw the first couple of his plays, and he made it so uh, what I felt like was attainable for me as a writer. Now, this isn't a lot of people, and I'm gonna keep it real. Initially, Tyler's stuff wasn't like Broadway. We know that, but at the same time, it still was good.
okay.
And so it wasn't that polished delivery of theater, but it was good. It was something that spoke to our people. It had our urban diction and rhetoric and all that kind of stuff and language. And it was something we saw our grandmas and nanas and aunts and uncles and cousins, country folk, ghetto folk, round people thought they was all that folk that you grew up with. Because I got
Yes.
all of them. We all got all of them. And so I was like, that's how my folks talk and look and act from Chicago to Mississippi anyway. And so
Mhm.
I went in and I wrote Sister, and I was going to initially hire somebody to produce and direct, but I was like, nah, this is my vision. I know what to do. So I literally just went and read a couple books on producing and directing for theater, and he was kind of like my inspiration to do it. And so when I decided to go back to Atlanta, it was before he came in and built his whole empire.
Mhm.
But by the time he landed in Atlanta for good and he built Tyler Perry Studios, I was going back to school for digital media. He the school I was going to, Atlanta Metropolitan, it was just a regular state college. Literally, Tyler Perry is the reason. They might not have said it, but I think it was. In fact, I know it was. I was just going for an associate's in digital media so I can take advantage of the new online content before people were doing what you and I are doing now.
Mhm.
And when he got there, the school literally went from a state college to a university offering all sorts of different programs in the arts.
Wow.
And they were offering, I'm a vet as well. I went to the Army for a very short period. So I was able to get some free money, scholarships, and laptop, all this stuff to go to school. And it was almost like a tunnel way straight from that school going over to that studio. He was hiring people from the school. And what I love about Tyler is that when you say give back, it's in every way.
Yeah.
Because he, as big as already was when he got there, he was a superstar. He was already connected with Oprah. He didn't have to come and look for us nobodies at that school. He could have gone if he was going to recruit, because you always need college students, interns, and all that stuff. He could
Mhm.
have gone to the big schools, Georgia State and all that other stuff, and even other schools along the East Coast, Howard, if he wanted black people to give back to. But he went and he really had contact with our schools to give people who were just looking for small jobs an opportunity to come work with him and work for him. So he's been inspiring me since the first few plays he did. At first, it was just more or less like it was right before I decided to write my play. But by the time I got inspired to do it, I was just like, by the third or fourth production he put out on DVD, I was like, I think I can do that. And it took me
Hmm.
about 3 months to write my play, and it's a comedy, a dramedy, I guess you want to call it. And and from there, I went into producing that and producing for other people, directing other people's plays and workshops and whatnot. And I love it. I love it.
You're excellent with that, and I want to know because so many people don't know what it feels like to create something like you
Mhm.
did and see it come to life. Can you kind of give us what that feels like?
Wow. It's I had been asked that before. That's a good question, sis. It's uh I guess for most people who probably do something that is like if you cook your favorite meal and you don't probably cook it all the time, so it's something that it's like this almost euphoric feeling like it's been created. It's like you're birthing something. I won't compare that to women birthing a child because, of course, I don't have no idea what that's like. But at the same time, it's like when you have this creation of something, whatever you do, if you're a painter, if my mom's a seamstress, she loves to see that work she's done after she's so talented. Once you're done with your creation, in the process of it, you get caught up and like you just see your vision, and if you really enjoy what you're doing, you just like going into it and you like the thrills and chills of what's going to come up and what's going to come out. I know
Mm-hmm.
for me it's mostly organic and just comes off the top of my head. Like because I didn't have professional training as a child, it was more or less like, oh, I see Michael Jackson up to Usher and TLC and the Fugees and Mary J. Blige. I would see these people from rappers to singers when I was writing songs, and I was just like, I can write like that. And so I would just write my own. And then again, as an artist, there's this almost, some of us are humble with our ego, some of us are not. But there's this euphoric ego kind of like rush of when somebody hears it or sees whatever your creation is and they like it. It's like, oh my God, every time for me, you know, I'm humbled by it. It's something like I don't take it for granted. I get up every day and praise God and thank Him for my talents because it brings me joy when I can bring others joy with doing it or compel somebody or something like that. And I don't have a problem with people just wanting to do it because it's just, oh, well, I'm just talented. It's a profession. It's just like I like taking care of people. I'm a nurse, so I go get a trade in nursing. But for the arts is something that I feel like serves everybody, other artists, other people who are doctors, lawyers, whatever. So the fact that I might turn on, if one day somebody turns on a song of mine, they listening to it like I get up and listen to my praise and worship songs every morning. It's like brand new every day. So the artists that I listen to, and there's nothing like having that feeling that you have compelled somebody emotionally or impacted them emotionally, artistically. And so to produce something, producing content and stuff like that, I'm really one of those nerdy guys who really loves doing it. Um, I would still do it if I couldn't ever make money. And right now, I'll be honest, I've gone through some life changes in the past 4 or 5 years that have not been good. But I kept going and kept doing it because it's what I love to do.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's the difference, is really loving to do it. Some people just do it because it is what it is, and I don't have a problem with that. Some of the people who just like it's just a way to make a check. They still make great stuff.
Right.
So, but it's
I
a
love
feeling you get.
I love this. Well, Linda's in the industry too. And Linda
Hmm.
says, I love your humbleness. Not many people are as humble as you in the business.
Oh, I see that. Thank you for that. I mean, I my thing was, like I said before, coming where I came from, which was humble beginnings. It wasn't the worst. We weren't, in the worst of circumstances, but it wasn't always easy. And to me, also, by the time I was becoming a teen, my parents were going through ups and downs, and they were divorcing and stuff. And I was just like, I don't want my mama struggling. So I was looking at it at a time where it was like, well, this is what I love to do. Let me get it polished off and go figure out how to make some money. Take care of her
Mm.
and my brother.
Mm-hmm.
That was my biggest thing. Cause she is a great mother to us. And so my thing was, I I didn't have time to look at it as, well, I'm all of that. And thank you so much. And so I'm all of that with it, and when you're a teen, preteen, you may have a little ego because girls looking at you and they think you can sing and,
Right.
all that stuff and you want to get their attention. But for the most part, it's always been this artistic thing for me. And like I said, it became business for me very early on where I was trying to make some dollars and cents. So,
Uh-huh. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your thoughts on the comment that I pinned by 90 Day Savage, where it says there's not enough people of color in voice acting.
I was looking at that and I totally agree.
Okay.
And it's so much lacking so that if black people knew how many white people were voicing characters of color like in cartoons, they probably would have a problem with it.
Really?
And I don't think that I don't look at it as like that because it's art. But and I'm saying that for it just with that question, I was looking at it, I was thinking about how black people are always saying there's no opportunities. It's exactly, Savage. It's in animation. You'll have like it could be a whole movie about black kids. Could have been baby kids. Now for that, it was back. It was a long time ago, but I think that was all black cast. But
Right.
it could be something like that today. Like some of the young people in my age group, like Seth Rogen, them they love to do animated cartoons, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes if they'll have to mimic a person that's supposed to be Latino, somebody supposed to be African American, or others with a person that just has a good skill of voice acting in animation, like they were saying. And people don't even know. Sometimes you think you're listening to somebody black animate somebody African American, and they're not. And I'm not
Oh
saying
my
it to cause
God.
trouble, but it's so lacking. And that's what I was telling my nephew. He was like, yeah, I want to do acting, Uncle Kyle, and I want to do this and that, whatever. I was like, well, I'm going to teach you what Nana didn't know how to teach me. And
Mm.
therefore, not only when it came to just being the art side of it, but just the business of it all. And I kind of think back to people, they were older than me, but I was idolizing them TLC when you think about how they went broke and stuff. They had bad management. LaFace Records was new, but the problem was a lot of times, a lot of black people don't know there's so many more opportunities that they can get into. They could have been doing voice acting, and that would have been more direct money. It's not the same big money as touring and those 60 and 90 million albums they sold worldwide, but it didn't have to go through the top label, then come to LaFace, then go to Pebble's pockets, and then she decide when the girls got their money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's kind of like how it was. And at first everybody was like, why did they do them like that? But it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of red tape. And if you knew about animation and that kind of stuff, and even just commercials, a lot of people, like I said, comedians especially, their management know. A lot of times with commercials, they want to get somebody who has comedic timing, like myself.
Right.
And they'll, those, if you're a smart person, you'll have your repertoire spread around and your resume, your bio, where you're not just looking for the next big gig, but you can work 7 days a week. You know what I mean? Doing stuff like the animation and the voiceover stuff. You can do it for TV. You can do it for film. You can do it for commercials, radio, all of that. It's like Savage was saying, it is oil well that our people are not tapping into. And I'm really just now getting into it a few years ago.
Linda says that her friend James Lewis has been a successful voice work and has teaches classes on voice acting. You know, I've never heard the term voice acting before.
Baby girl, I've been trying to do this since I was 5, and I didn't know jack about no voice acting until about 5 years ago.
Wow.
Well, let me say it like this. We all kind of knew what was happening, but we didn't know the terminology. And we definitely, and us as entertainers who were trying to get to the bag, as the kids say today, we weren't thinking about that. Like, well, there's always some new cartoon. Hell,
Yes.
even video games need voice actors. We love
Yes.
sitting at home playing video games. The brothers who love playing, you know, the NBA games and the kids and all that stuff. Like I was telling my nephews, they're such hams like how all four of us boys were. I was like, nah, man, you gonna learn how to do more than just try to go to Hollywood. You're gonna let Hollywood come to you because, like her friend that she was talking about, once you have that resume and you have a good team of management, agent, and whatnot, it's like you work for a temp agency. They basically put your stuff out there, your resume out there, and the people will actually call you. You don't have to always just knock on the door and beg, oh my God, I have talent, won't you look at me? And you don't have to do that. You can have a team that basically works for you, and they'll have your demos and your bios and say, hey, he already has a plethora of work that he's done from local to international. I'm going to submit him to you. We saw your posting on some website or on your site. So it actually is like I said, it's a gig thing. It's like temp work / gig economy, like the Uber, stuff like that. But if you get lucky, if you do a good enough job and you stay consistent, a consistent check could come at any time and you never expect it.
Wow. Okay. So right here it says, Cree Summer, A Different World, has made an incredible career of voice acting. She started out as the voice of Penny in Inspector Gadget and has been voice animated characters ever since.
Yes. Still doing them. Wow. Cree Summer. I learned about Cree a long time ago, and I went because Inspector Gadget was my show after school. She went when I started looking into it. She was the first person to actually come to my mind. It was like, you know, because I learned years ago, probably during or towards the end of A Different World, that she was Penny. But it's in reverse. Like she's multiracial, but she pretty much identifies as black. But she was speaking for this little white, blonde-haired white girl and one of the biggest cartoons of all time. And she was Penny all the seasons that show was on, and she still does voiceovers.
Wow.
She was doing that before A Different World came along. Bill Cosby put her on there to be with Jasmine Guy and all of them. She had already had a career in voice acting.
That's
and
a lot of people. Yes. So
Savages know their stuff.
Yes, Savages in Hollywood or something. Let me tell you.
Okay.
So you just, I love that you decided to produce and create your own content. So now you've gone into a production company.
Yeah.
Tell us how that happened. Because that's a different beast.
Yes, it is. And it's been on hold for a while. Cause like I said, I'll give people a little bit of background. I'm very private with my personal life. I got really sick 5 years ago. Okay. I had already started Phoenix Productions. And what happened was literally I was working myself to death. I was exhausted, and my body started to literally break down at working 10, 12 hours a day, going to school 4 hours a day, pursuing the industry 24 hours a day because it's a 24-hour day job. And what I learned is ownership is the key to financial stability and survival. When you have more ownership in your product and how you deliver it. And so at the end of the day, I was coming up on my 30s, and I'll be honest, I was listening to the rhetoric of the industry when you get aged out. And I wanted to, unlike voice acting, in which I didn't really know much about and I wasn't paying attention to, you don't get aged out of that. You could be 100 years old doing a voice. But I was thinking about, I want to still maybe do music. I want to act. And I'm getting, by the industry standards, older. So I said, so I don't have to worry about that. I could book my own self if I have my own company. And so right before, when I did my first play, I said it's going to be not just me being a playwright and an actor, it's going to be me being a production like Tyler Perry was doing. So I forged Phoenix Productions Group. It's just me, still just me. But I have different connections with resources and stuff like that. And I had to put it on hold because I got so sick. and I had to kind of take a step back. It's something that happens with a lot of people of our heritage, diabetes. I developed that, and I got really sick because what I was doing, I was almost killing myself. I was literally like drinking sodas and those monster drinks to stay up. Too much sugar, too much of all that stuff, and my body was not recuperating. And when you get disappointed so many times, you want to do everything your own. I've always been a very independent, driven person, even as a kid. So I was like, I got tired of calling somebody and expecting them to do something they didn't do what I wanted them to do. And so I said, well, let me figure out what I can do first, which was start the company. And by the time I was getting things going, I had done my first movie I'd ever done with not Tyler Perry, with Tommy Ford from Martin. If you remember Tommy, he passed away a few years ago. So I went to his workshop. I started doing workshop classes while I was in school because I learned as well. A lot of people in the industry don't know the best way to get that fast connect is to go to those workshops, theater workshops. Tommy's done it all. Tommy's done TV, film, and theater. And so he was trying to do a little bit like what Tyler Perry was doing. He was in Atlanta, and he basically opened up the workshop. And Rodney Perry, if you remember him, he used to be the co-host on Monique's talk show, the comedian guy, dark-skinned guy. I was taking both of their workshops at the same time. And Rodney was doing like a comedian improv workshop, which is good to take if you're a theater person. You need to know that improvisational skill of being off the cuff. Something may change or something may happen while you're doing theater and you have to roll with it. That's called improv. So I was trying to learn everything all at one time, and it almost killed my ass. I'm gonna keep it real. It did. Everything happens for a reason. I was, in my feelings in my head for these past 4 years, but so much stuff happened that was a blessing too out of that, because I had to, when God sits you down and makes you learn something, it's the best way. You want to do it without him stepping in, but luckily, things didn't get too bad where I didn't die, but it was some scary nights and scary days for a while. And so I had to put everything on hold, and I'm basically still on hold until I had to tell a lot of people, like when you asked me about doing your podcast at one time, or saying me and you could do it together, I was in that idea of like, I got to start saying no again, not because I wanted to, it was like I had to.
Right.
And I told one of my actor friends, I was like, man, everybody calling me to be a part of something. He was like, man, stop tripping. You Keil, everybody know you think you all of that. I'm like, see, I don't think like that. I still feel like I'm a struggling person and nobody knows me. But with social media, so many more people know me now. And so, like having 4,000 something friends on Facebook, I never thought that would have been me. I thought it was going to be until I blow up. That's when people will know me and know my work and stuff like that. And so, this has been more humbling to meet people. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm glad I'm standing too.
That's James. That's my husband.
That's James. That's what's up, boy? What's going on, man? And I'm side note, I just love y'all I just love y'all relationship. Y'all inspiration. That's all I got to say about y'all. Thank you, bro. But so much happened, like I said, good, bad, and indifferent. I'm just thankful to God that I am still here, like he said. And I've gotten a chance to slow down and polish things off. So hopefully, if God's willing and Trump don't lead us into World War 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
Next year in the spring, I told everybody, if God willing, I'll be back active and I'll be willing to do a lot more. I'm just going to hibernate for the winter, and I've learned to take time off, for myself, for my mind, my spirit, all that stuff. And so, yeah. I'm sorry. I hope I answered your question. I'm long-winded sometimes.
You did, and I love it. I'm glad that you are learning to take care of you. Linda's in the industry too, And Linda takes frequent breaks, and I love that about her. She'll be like, Jade, I'm taking a social media timeout. I'll see you on Tuesday. I'm like, okay. So like she put down there, learn the power of no. I had to learn that.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn it. It was, all of a sudden I was doing the thing. I was in Atlanta. I had a new car. I had my own place. I was dating nice looking girls and all this stuff. I was in with cool people. My cousin came to Atlanta and he went back home and told everybody out in the country, like, cuz is blowing up. He doing movies and shows. And so, I didn't know, like she said, when to say no. And all of a sudden I was really afraid. I thought something else was going on because what I'm used to with diabetes is like somebody who's usually very obese, overweight. I actually started losing weight, and I was like, "Oh my God, what happened? Did I sleep with the wrong person? Did I? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?" Thank you so much. You're awesome too, sweetie. And I was like, "Man, what did I do? Do I got cancer?" I'm like, "I don't smoke. I'm not really rowdy." I'm like, how the hell I get something terminal? And so I went to the doctor and they was like, "Fool, you ain't got no AIDS and no cancer. You got diabetes. You eat too much damn sugar." I was like, "What?" It was like, "Yes, here's some pills. Go home and go to sleep." And and so I didn't listen though. That's what made it worse. I took the pills, but I still was having the same routine because I was like, "Well, let me exercise. Therefore, I can fight it." And Atlanta it has not always the best reputation, but to me it was awesome. I was having the time of my life. And I was doing everything I ever wanted to do. I did this movie with Tommy Ford, with Kim Fields was in there. When we got done, my first scene in a movie was with Kim Fields from Tootie from Facts of Life.
Wow.
And when she was going back to her trailer, in the van, the transport van, she stopped. She said, "Wait a minute, stop, baby. You right there." And I turned like, "Yes, ma'am." And she was like, "You good. You going somewhere. You good, baby." And I was like, me and my homegirl was looking at each other like, Kim Fields just said that to me. And so I didn't know what she was going to say because I was playing this flamboyantly gay character. So I didn't know what her reaction was going to be. And I really found I happened upon this character because I was trying to flirt with the girl who became my best friend. The girl who was supposed to read for Cookie didn't show up. And so T was over there with her crew of girls, all these good-looking girls, and I was like, I want her to look at me. And so when nobody was reading for Cookie, Tommy said, "Somebody pick up the lines." That's what they do when you're doing a read-through. And I started reading Cookie's part. I didn't care. I was just reading just to, make it keep going. When we got done, he was like, "You're Cookie." I was like, "What you mean I'm Cookie?" I was like, that's a girl. He said, "No." He said, "Not no more. It's you." And I was like, in 3 seconds, I said, "You gonna pay me?" He was like, "Hell yeah, I'm gonna pay you." I said, "Well, girl, here I am, honey." And so from there, that's how I got my first movie, man. And it was crazy. It was so much fun to be on that set and to have all these different celebrities and stuff. It was the best time I ever had in my whole life. So, it changed my whole perspective on the industry. I was like, I still love music, but music is hard. It's so much harder than what people know. Even when you super hella talented, that's why you'll know so many people who can sing, but they never blow up. Right. Because it's so much red tape. And then if you get a deal, if you don't have your own production, if you don't know how to write songs so you can get publishing royalties of your own, it could be years. Even with publishing, when you get publishing like Michael Jackson, everybody know he bought the Beatles catalog. And if and for you guys that's online watching us, if you go and watch Vlad TV's interview with Darkchild on Rodney Jerkins, he kind of breaks that down about, yes, it does, Savage. Everything happens for a reason. And he breaks down how Michael was telling him and putting him on to game about the publishing business.
Mm-hmm.
But even with that, unless you had Michael's success and previous money, it takes 6 months to almost a year for publishing royalties to even be paid out from BMI ASCAP. It could be $1 million check you waiting on, but at the end of the day, it's not like go to work, clock in, and get paid every week or every 2 weeks or even once monthly. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more red tape. It's big deals going on. You got a lot of zeros that have to be transferred and all this stuff. So with acting, it's kind of the same thing, but it's a lot of a quicker gratification as an artist and as a business person that you'll
Mm-hmm.
see the fruits of your labor and stuff like that. And even with voice acting, like I said, you can go in and do something for a major campaign like Tide commercial pods or something, Tide pods, and you'll have that check in a matter of 6 weeks as
I know
opposed to
that.
what 6 months.
I know that Verizon guy.
Right. Yes. Yes. Money, baby.
Hmm.
Money.
And
And that's
he's T-Mobile. He's some other guy, but he been making
so
that money forever.
forever. And baby, when you get them type of campaigns, them be like starting at 5 zeros and above. For
Yes.
and you don't have to be nobody. You can just have that charm and wit and that charisma along with your talent. And next thing you know, you making 5, 6, 7 figures just to do a commercial spot.
Right. And
It's
he's
it's
been doing
it's
them
very
forever.
lucrative. Yes, it's very
So
lucrative.
where are you going from here? What is your dream from here?
Um, ooh, I want to bring forth all the stuff that really I've been dreaming about since I was a kid, and in a streamlined way, and roll it out like in this, like bring my company back to life, God willing, um, and through my music, through my stage plays, TV projects. I have a couple sitcoms I want to do. I want to do. I've been talking to a friend of mine. He my brother. We brothers in heart from Africa. We've been talking about. He inspired me. He's a big old guy, and he does movies over in what part is John from? But John does a lot of movies over there, and I saw him as like because he's this big old. He's just a big old teddy bear, but he's this big old guy, and I was like, "You're gonna be my Hulk in my Marvel movie." And
Yes.
so I want to do something like if all the buzz that we got, and God rest our brother soul Chadwick for doing such an awesome job as Black Panther. Can't believe he's gone.
I know.
Um, at the end of the day, I want to do something like take from that where they left off with that and bring my own spin on something like that with our people and continue on with something that centers around us and on us. And I want to basically tap into this online market of everything. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to be on TV if possible. I want to be on your regular radio station, and maybe you can download a song from some major label that I'm connected with. I want to do all of that stuff, but I now see the way and the vision to become not only my own company, which I already am, but I now know the inside track on how to become a real independent artist and company that produces my own content, and I can give people of color, and not just people of color. Wakanda forever. Yes, spell
Wakanda forever.
forever. I want to do that movie. I got a couple sitcoms that I want to do. I got a couple dramas I want to do. I want to turn my play. I want to bring my play back out, and I want to turn it into a movie. Just a little bit of everything.
I'm so
God,
excited.
yeah, a little bit of everything, Mom. Even write some books.
Well, I want to be here to support you. I think you're just super fantastic. I'm always going to be a fan, just so you know.
Same here.
Um, and I just appreciate knowing you.
Aw,
I
you
really
too.
do. I really do. I can't believe this hour's over. We're done.
Already?
Already.
Wow.
I know.
We're gonna have to do it again.
We gonna
We got to
have
do.
to.
You
We
are
have
you,
to.
and you are so